It began with a complaint. By the 1840s, New York City was choking on its own success. Streets thundered beneath iron-shod horses. Factories poured smoke into the sky. Crowded tenements rose almost overnight, packed with newcomers arriving daily from across the Atlantic. The city had grown so fast it felt as though it might tear itself apart. Amid the noise and grime, a dangerous question began to circulate in newspapers and salons alike. Where could a New Yorker go to breathe? At the time, New York was not yet the shining metropolis of legend. Manhattan was dense, chaotic, and relentlessly expanding. There were no great public parks, only small, overused squares where children played among carts, refuse, and noise. Wealthy families escaped north by carriage, seeking fresh air and open views. Many had traveled abroad. They had walked through London's Hyde Park and Paris's Bois de Boulogne. And they wondered why New York had nothing comparable. One of those voices belonged to William Cullen Bryant, poet and newspaper editor. He argued that a great city required a great park, not for luxury, but for public health, civic pride, and moral balance. Another was Andrew Jackson Downing, who imagined a vast open landscape of trees, water, and meadows. To Downing, such a park was not optional. It was essential for any city that hoped to be truly great. Their ideas spread through editorials and essays, slowly gaining political traction. By the early 1850s, city leaders began to see not only the civic value, but the economic advantage. A grand park would elevate New York's image and raise surrounding property values. Pressured by reformers, the state legislature approved the search for land. Finding it was another matter. Manhattan was narrow, valuable, and already crowded. After fierce debate, officials chose a stretch of rugged ground between 59th and 106th Streets. From 5th to 8th Avenue, more than 700 acres of rock, swamp, and uneven terrain. But this land was not empty. Around 1,600 people lived there, poor laborers, immigrants, and free African Americans. Among them was a thriving community known as Seneca Village. Founded in the 1820s, it was one of New York's first settlements of black property owners. Residents built homes, churches, and a school. They lived quietly, raising families and working nearby. That story is often overlooked, but it matters. In 1853, the state invoked eminent domain, seizing the land for public use. Residents were forced out. Compensation was promised, but many never received it. By 1857, Seneca Village was erased, its buildings demolished, its people scattered, its memory reduced to fragments in old records. With the land cleared, the city turned to design. A public competition was announced. 33 proposals were submitted, each offering a vision for what this park might become. Two stood apart. Frederick Law Olmsted, a journalist and reformer, partnered with Calvert Vaux, an English-born architect. Their proposal, the Greensward Plan, was revolutionary. Rolling meadows, quiet lakes, wooded paths. Carriage roads sunk below ground so nature remained uninterrupted. A landscape where rich and poor could walk side by side in calm and dignity. They believed the park belonged to everyone. As they wrote, it was a democratic development of the highest significance. In 1858, their design won. Building it was brutal. Swamps had to be drained. Rock had to be blasted. Clay had to be hauled away by hand. Over the next decade, more than 20,000 laborers, many Irish and German immigrants, reshaped the land with picks, shovels, and horse carts. More than 270,000 trees and shrubs were planted. Lakes were carved by hand. Bridges rose from granite and sandstone. The work was dangerous. Explosions killed workers. Injuries were common. Their names were never recorded. While construction continued, controversy raged. Critics claimed the park was a playground for the wealthy. Others called it a waste of tax money. Olmsted answered that nature could repair what industrial life had broken, that beauty was not a luxury, but a public necessity. By the late 1850s, parts of the park began to emerge. Curving paths crossed open lawns. Water reflected distant rooftops. Visitors arrived even as mud and scaffolding surrounded them. The park was unfinished, but hope was real. Yet victory brought new battles. Political forces, led by Tammany Hall, saw the park as power and profit. Contracts meant money. Money meant control. Commissioners fought among themselves. Every tree, every road, every dollar became political. When the Civil War erupted in 1861, funding slowed. Workers left for the Olmsted resigned to serve the U.S. Sanitary Commission, organizing aid for wounded soldiers. Without his guidance, the park drifted. Plans were altered. Balance was lost. When Olmsted returned after the war, he barely recognized his creation. Though he and Vaux fought to restore its purpose, corruption crept in. Maintenance contracts were inflated. Skilled caretakers replaced by political appointees. Olmsted warned that a public work of art, if unguarded, decays in both body and soul. By 1873, construction officially ended. The cost had doubled. Crowds flooded the gates. The press called it the lungs of the city. For a moment, New York stood united. But the creators were exhausted. Both men resigned. Without them, neglect followed. Paths cracked. Lawns faded. The park drifted toward privilege. Fifth Avenue elites treated it as a private promenade, while working families struggled to reach it at all. Economic collapse in the 1870s turned the park into a stage for protest. Labor rallies ended in violence. The space meant to heal division now reflected it. Still, some refused to give up. Caretakers patched what they could. Citizens demanded reform. In 1877, Olmsted returned briefly as an unpaid advisor, warning that the park was losing its soul. Slowly, recovery began. Trees were replanted. Lawns restored. Culture returned. The Metropolitan Museum of Art opened along its edge, drawing new life. By the 1890s, the city transformed again. Electric lights. Streetcars. Skyscrapers rising. The park became an island of green amid industrial roar. Leisure changed. Baseball games. Concerts. Ice skating. Playgrounds. Some feared the park was losing its quiet purpose, but the public claimed it as their own. Despite noise, crowds, and pressure, something endured. Immigrants and elites walked the same paths. Different languages shared the same shade. It remained an unspoken experiment in coexistence. Before his death in 1903, Olmsted wrote that the park was the most difficult and most hopeful work of his life. Vaux was already gone, his bridges and terraces standing as silent signatures. The city would keep changing. The park would face neglect, revival, and reinvention again and again. But against all odds, the idea survived. A space where nature and humanity could meet. And for a moment, breathe together.